All right, so today's deep dive is, well, it's a little different. Some of you listeners send in this document,
Hmm.
and well, it's a single PDF. That's all it is.
Okay.
And the title is, we'll get this
Yeah.
Apes Together
Yeah.
Strong dot PDF.
Together.
Yeah, together. Togather. Misspelled. Curiously misspelled.
Wow. Okay, so what's in it? What's so special about this PDF?
Well, let's just say the content is, how do I put this?
Hmm.
Repetitive.
Repetitive, huh? So it definitely caught my eye.
Yeah,
It's almost like someone, took that phrase "apes together strong" and I don't know, just went crazy with copy and paste.
exactly. That's
Yeah.
it. That's a perfect way to describe it. So our mission, if we choose to accept it, is to figure out like what's going on here. Is
Right.
there like a rhyme or reason to this? Is it, I don't know, is it a code? Is it a joke? Is it some kind of performance art? We need to decode this thing.
Yeah, absolutely. To really get to the bottom of this, I think we need to be pretty systematic about this,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
I think the first thing we should do is just lay out the facts here.
Okay. Yeah.
We've got this PDF, no author, no date, just page after page of Apes Together Strong.
Yeah.
But there are some interesting variations.
Okay, the variations, you're talking about like the spacing and the capitalization, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes it's all caps, like Apes Together Strong. Other times it's like Apes Together Strong with like 3 spaces between each word. So that's got to be
Hmm.
significant, right? Or is it just random?
Well, if we're assuming there's like a real message here,
Right.
randomness seems pretty unlikely. Like, what are the odds, right?
Hmm.
So let's consider the possibility that it's a code, right?
Okay. Yeah.
If these variations, like you said, the spacing, the capitalization, if that's all deliberate,
Hmm.
then it could be representing something very specific.
Okay.
Maybe different spacing corresponds to different letters or words or something.
Ooh, that's a good point. Like maybe all caps mean something different than all lowercase. But but how would we even begin to decipher that? I mean, we don't have a key.
Well, we might not actually need a key, right?
Hmm.
Think about frequency analysis.
The frequency analysis.
Yeah, like so certain letters, they show up more often in the English language than others, right?
Right.
Like E is the most common letter.
Yeah.
So if we chart the frequency of these different spacing and capitalization patterns,
You okay?
we might see a pattern emerge.
So like if close spacing shows up as often as E does in normal text, that could be our clue.
Exactly. I mean, it's a long shot,
Yeah.
but at least it's a starting point.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it forces us to really analyze, the document itself, not just getting lost in abstract ideas.
Okay, I like that. So we're being like code breakers, but instead of secret messages, we've got, I don't know, ape
Uh,
grammar. Right.
Exactly. Exactly. And let's not forget about that misspelling.
Together.
Together. That could be like a deliberate clue,
Yeah.
right?
Like it's a slang term, or maybe even a proper noun.
Hmm.
Could together be like a place, a person, an event?
That's worth considering. I mean, if this document is meant for like a specific audience,
Right.
they might immediately know what that misspelling means. Like, oh, it's together.
Okay, this is making my head spin.
Hmm.
All right, so we've got potential codes in the spacing and the capitalization, maybe significant misspelling. What else? What else should we be looking for?
Well, we haven't even talked about like the visual aspect of this whole thing yet.
Okay, yeah, the visual stuff.
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm more of a word person,
Hmm.
but I'm willing to give it a shot. Remind me what concrete poetry is exactly.
Oh, it's basically poetry where the visual form, like how it looks on the page, it's as important as the words themselves. So, like the arrangement of the words, the spacing, even the font,
Yeah.
all of that, it all contributes to the meaning.
So you're thinking the way Apes Together Strong is laid out in this document
Right.
could be like its own like secret visual code.
Exactly. It could be a visual puzzle just waiting for us to solve it.
Okay.
Think about it. We've got different line breaks, different amounts of space between the words. All
Wow.
those choices, those could be very deliberate.
Okay, I see what you mean. Like sometimes Apes is on its own line and sometimes it's like crammed in with together.
Hmm.
Okay, but how do we make sense of that? Do we need to like I don't know, measure the distances between the words or something.
I mean, I guess that's one way to approach it. Or we
Uh-huh.
could look for patterns in the layout.
Okay.
Like, do certain shapes reappear? Are there clusters of, similar spacing?
Hmm.
I think it's about looking for, visual rhymes and rhythms.
Okay, I'm getting a little lost. Can you give me like an example? Like what kind of visual pattern would be meaningful here?
Okay, sure. So imagine this. What if, what if every time the word strong appears,
Yeah.
it's always indented, like further than the rest of the phrase?
Hmm. Interesting. That could be a way to visually emphasize like the idea of strength.
Right.
Like strong is literally standing apart.
Exactly. Or maybe the spacing, creates like a wave-like pattern across the pages.
Hmm.
Could that symbolize like the collective power of a group? Like a wave building momentum?
Ooh, I like that. We're talking about apes here, so maybe the visual layout is meant to like mimic ape behavior somehow. Like their movements, their social interaction.
Now you're thinking like a true code breaker.
Uh-huh.
We really need to consider all the possibilities.
All right, so we've got the spacing and capitalization maybe forming a code, the misspelling is a potential clue, and now the visual layout could be part of the puzzle too. This document is like a multi-layered enigma.
It really is. And honestly, there's a chance that some of these things are just red herrings.
Hmm.
Maybe the person who made this just, I don't know, really liked hitting the space bar.
Uh-huh. Yeah, that's true. We could be totally overthinking this whole thing.
Right.
But where's the fun in that? I say we keep digging.
Yeah, I agree. Let's not rule anything out just yet. I think we really need to explore every angle.
Okay, so where do we go from here? We've got all these potential clues, but how do we put them all together?
Well, I think the key is to look for connections.
Okay.
Like, do any of these elements, the spacing, the capitalization, the visuals, do they reinforce each other? Do any of them like contradict each other?
Right.
We need to analyze the data and see if a pattern emerges.
So like if we find that a certain spacing pattern always corresponds to a certain visual layout,
Hmm.
that could be like a breakthrough moment.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like we're piecing together a puzzle,
Yeah. Right.
like each clue on its own, it might not mean much,
Uh-huh.
but when you start like connecting them,
Yeah. Yeah.
a bigger picture could emerge.
Right. And sometimes,
Yeah.
the most obvious answer is the right one, right?
Oh,
We've
no.
been so focused on finding this hidden code
Right.
that maybe we've overlooked the simplest interpretation. What if the message is just apes together strong?
Okay, but then what's with all the variations, the misspelling, the visual layout? It seems like
Hmm.
overkill for such a simple message.
That's true. That's true. But think about how the repetition itself
Yeah.
could be part of the message.
Okay.
Maybe it's not about a hidden code, but about emphasis, right?
Emphasis. Like the more times you say it, the truer it becomes.
Yeah. Exactly. It's like almost like a form of indoctrination. The document just hammers home this idea of apes together strong
Yeah.
until it becomes like ingrained in your mind.
Hmm. That's interesting. It's like a mantra or something. The more
Mm.
you repeat it, the more you start to believe it.
Right. And the variations, they
Yeah.
could be a way of keeping your attention,
Harp-
right? Preventing you from just tuning out the message.
Okay, I see what you mean. It's like a song with different verses and a chorus.
Right.
The core message stays the same,
Mm.
but the variations, they add this layer of complexity that makes it more engaging.
Precisely. So maybe we've been looking at this all wrong, right?
Mm.
Maybe the point isn't to decode a secret message, but to experience the message itself, to
Mhm.
to feel its power
Okay.
through the repetition, the variation.
So document is the message.
In a way, yeah. Yeah, I think so. It's like a piece of abstract art.
Okay.
Something that you experience rather than interpret.
Mhm.
You don't need to understand every brushstroke to appreciate the overall effect.
Wow, that's a really, really different way of looking at it.
Mm-hmm.
So what does this all mean for our listeners? The ones who sent this document in.
Right.
What should they take away from this deep dive?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is this. Sometimes the meaning isn't hidden. It's right there in front of you.
Mm.
It's about how you experience it, how it makes you feel.
And maybe it's a reminder that even the simplest things can be complex,
Right.
and even the most straightforward messages can have layers of meaning.
Exactly. So to our listener, we leave you with this. Don't get too hung up on finding the right interpretation, you know.
Mm,
Just experience the document, let it wash over you and see what you feel.
okay.
Maybe the meaning will reveal itself in a way you didn't expect.
And hey, if you do crack the code,
Mm,
if you find a hidden message,
yeah,
let us know. We'd love to hear about it.
absolutely.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep those deep dives coming.
And remember, sometimes the most profound messages are the ones that make you,
Yeah.
scratch your head and say, "What the?"
That's it for this deep dive. See you next time for another adventure in knowledge and exploration.